back, everybody, to the Just One More Level podcast. I am your co-host, Christian.
And I am your co-host, John.
And this week, we played a little bit of Kathy Rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kathy Rain.
So, Kathy Rain, we originally planned on this being a mini, but we decided to turn it into a full episode because, as many of you may have noticed, we haven't been posting as much stuff lately. There's just a lot of stuff going on. The biggest of which is we are working on a video game. We don't have much to say about it right now, but in the future, we will hopefully be sharing more with you guys. But because of that, we're just cutting back a little bit. So we decided to take this game that was originally meant to be a mini and just do a full episode on it for you guys. But we just wanted to quickly get that out of the way, like why we were a little bit slow on some episodes and things. But yes, John.
Right. Also, we found that we had a lot more to say about this game than we originally thought. We thought we could squeeze it in 7 minutes, and then we were like, hey, wow, this is actually something to talk about. So here we are.
Very true. Very true. It's very interesting. So, I mean, you can probably tell if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, we'll tell you a little bit about it. Kathy Rain is a point-and-click adventure game. Kind of your classic style of point-and-click adventure, not the newer, like, Telltale style. And, but the only real, like, I don't know, it's kind of got, like, that whole girl thing going for it, right? You play the girl protagonist, and she's kind of your you know, she's badass, you know, she's got, like, the dyed hair, and she rides a bike, and all of that sort of stuff. I don't know if this was actually made by a team of women or if this was made by men or what, but it seems a little stereotypical to me, to be honest. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, she we should specify she rides a motorcycle, not a bicycle. I don't.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, she's not running around on a like
She BMXs a little bit. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, whatever.
I just now noticed, by the way, that the roommate has a Titanic poster in the background.
So there's a roommate. So when the game starts out, right? Obviously, they introduce you to you, the main character, who's the tomboy, badass biker chick sort of deal. But then your roommate that you live with in whatever city you're in is more your stereotypical cutesy kind of good girl, right? Everything's all pink. She has like a nice little makeup mirror. She has heart posters and a Titanic poster, and her side of the room's all like prim and proper and cleaned up, while yours is all just like trashed and everything. So that's it kind of sets up a little bit of a dynamic there, but again, very stereotypy, which again makes me kind of wonder if it was made by a group of men and not necessarily women. But I don't know, whatever.
It also goes to mention too that this is a time period game. This takes place in the mid-90s.
Yes.
So they tried to make it things for the time. I'm having difficulty making out what that other poster is. Actually, I know one's Titanic. Yeah. And I think the other one is a movie as well, but I can't tell from here.
Yeah, I want
to say like Phantom of the Opera, maybe, but no,
I have no idea.
When that came out at this time. Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio, maybe?
Maybe.
Something like that. I can't really tell.
Clue. I have no clue.
Yeah, but you can see there's an old 90s computer. She got the old printer. She still has a landline phone in her room. Yeah. So there's no cell phones or anything like that, which helps factor into the mystery of the game and the style of the game. The style of the game is in that old point-and-click adventure style, kind of like not at all like Carmen Sandiego, but I'm struggling to think of a better example that I played.
What was it called?
At
Monkey Island, Myst, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't really play point-and-click games at the time other than like educational games because I was a kid.
Right. I mean, to be fair, to be honest, neither did I.
Right. So when this kind of thing was popular, that's what I was playing, so that's what I equate it to. But also there were quite a few games on some bad sites like addictinggames.com that you weren't supposed to visit at the library, but you did.
I mean, you did anyways. Everybody did.
Right.
Now, with that said, though, this game wasn't actually made in the 90s. I just think that's worth pointing out. This was actually made in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it is relatively new, but there were some things with it. Like, I was kind of surprised resolution-wise. It's relatively low resolution, and it's 4:3. It's not a 16:9 game either, which I don't know what possessed them to do that. I can understand maybe having it be a lower resolution because, it's all pixel art, kind of like what you would expect for old point and click games and things like that. Right. But I don't understand why they wouldn't have made it 16:9. It just makes it kind of weird on modern monitors, and some monitors in this day and age would stretch that as well if you try to go full screen. Now, thankfully, monitor technology has gotten pretty decent, but
I think probably just to replicate your experience. This is meant to be like you found a downloadable file of one of those old games that you played somewhere, and you opened it up on your modern computer. You got it to run with some magic, and
with magic, yes.
this is what you would be treated to, and
Very
obviously
true.
this is a slightly higher and more crisp resolution than what would happen if you opened one of those games. In reality, if you opened one of those games, there would be no full screen. You'd have this tiny little window, depending on the software you're playing it on, you know. But I think this is just really trying to get you into that headspace is what I think they were going for here. And it's just like if you buy any of the old game collections on Steam, right, like the old Sonic games or something like that, they don't like change the aspect ratio or anything, they preserve it, and I think that's what they were trying to go for here.
Sure, and like I get that, but say like the old Sonic games, using that example, if you buy them on Steam, they load up in an emulator that gives you options for what you want on the side of the screens, right? Like you don't have to have black bars. You can have a TV set that you're playing in, or you can have graphics on the sides or something like that. So it's still 16 by 9, but then the actual playable window's 4 by 3. And the reason that's kind of important to me is because, like I was saying, there's some monitors and things, TVs more than monitors, but I'm sure there's computer monitors out there too, where you can't change the aspect ratio of whatever you have on full screen, right? So if they make the game 4 by 3, but you're using a modern 16 by 9 TV or monitor, you could be forced to have all of the art and everything stretched out, and everything would just look a little bit disproportionate, a little bit off, like it's not supposed to. Whereas if you had the game a 16 by 9 option, but then just, had something on the side of the screen or even just black bars, I would find that preferable to how this game worked. But it's a little nitpicky thing. I mean, it's a point and click adventure. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal either way. It's just kind of odd to me that a game in 2016 took that route. That's all. But story wise, I mean, it kind of hooked me.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, we've all, not everybody, but most people that are around the age that John and I are at, and certainly a lot of people younger and a lot of people older have lost people in their lives, and that's kind of what this game is about, right? You get a message that your grandfather has passed away, and so you decide to go to his funeral. Last minute, you find this out, so you go to his funeral, and then you find out that there were some mysterious circumstances surrounding the couple years leading up to his eventual death, and so you're kind of tasked with kind of your own choice, really. You kind of chose to figure out what happened. What was he doing? What happened to him in the years leading up to his death, where he was no longer acting like himself, he wasn't talking anymore, he was bound to a wheelchair, etc., etc. So it's kind of that whole detective badass chick sort of thing is what you're playing with here, and you explore the small town that you grew up in, or at least in your very young life, because it turns out that your home life wasn't so great, I guess, right? And
I didn't get too far into the game. I got back to the grandmother's house from this point, and then I made it to the police station.
Okay.
I went straight there. So that's somewhere in the police station is around where I left off. Because like we had mentioned before, we were planning on playing this for a mini.
Yeah.
So for the minis, we don't always play the full hour of the game. Sometimes we do like half hour, 45 minutes. Just whatever, we kind of wing it. Whatever we feel like we have enough content. Whenever we feel like we have enough content to talk about. In contrast, I played like an hour and a half of the game that we're going to be talking about next, coming up, Dragon Warrior. I played like an hour and a half of that because I felt like I needed to get enough of a first time experience to talk about. So, but yeah, I played about 40 minutes or so of this game. I was very thorough with any game like this where it's point and click or RPG. I try to be very thorough in every area that I'm in, and I didn't have a whole lot of time at the time that I played this to get that deep into it, but I really loved it. I love the pixel art is amazing. I love it.
I agree with you there, for sure.
It's full picture pixel art. That's what captivates me the most. Is you have this player character. She's probably I'd say maybe in the 128 pixel tall range, maybe 64. I know that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to anybody out there that's not an enthusiast, but it means a lot to me. It means you can have a lot of detail in your character. And the screen itself though is a full screen.
I think 480.
It's a full 480 resolution screen that we're looking at, and they had to fill every pixel of that screen with something. Now, they could have used modern methods to achieve this. They may not have just started up with a blank canvas and tried to do their best. But games like this always reminded me of like a low resolution photograph. That's kind of what they look like.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like older games like that, it makes me wonder if some of the things that we were seeing in like an old Carmen Sandiego game or something was a low resolution photograph. We just didn't know.
I mean, maybe it's been
so
long since I played
CRT monitor.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I remember. I think this was made with different technique, especially the character. The character models are definitely pixel art and pixel art animation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But some of the stuff that I see in this game, it makes me wonder whether or not it's actually just like a pixelized photograph. Like they may have made this with some other kind of artwork and then imported it into a software and did pixel art over top of it to make it, pixelize the image and then cleaned up the edges and whatnot. But there again, I'm staring at this screen right now. I'm looking at it and I can see the pixels. Like I can see the technique that they used.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think that's personally what they did, or even with the older Carmen Sandiego games, I don't think that's what they did. I understand what you're saying though. Like it's very good pixel art, basically. It just looks really nice for the limited resolution that they have. The amount of detail that they were able to get in is just very good. Like, it just looks really nice. Yeah. It's not... This realism in pixel art isn't necessarily my personal favorite. I tend to be bend more towards, like, the slightly cartoony in my personal preferences. But it's still, like, the detail that you can see on, like, the couches and chairs where... I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen like old couches and chairs at their grandparents' houses or whatever, where they got the buttons in the leather that sucks the leather real deep into the couch, so then it gets like really dark little holes, black holes, and then all the cracks and crevices where the different stitching is, and the cushions meet the couch itself or whatever. It all looks very good. It's very detailed, and for the limited resolution they have, it's amazing.
Yeah, it works very well for this kind of game too. Like this kind of game, for what it is, this is perfect. It's perfect
for a more serious investigative game, for sure. Because this isn't like Luigi's Mansion or something, right? Where you're going around on a funny little quest to save your brother. Yeah, this is a traditional detective sort of game. So
and they do a really good job. I mean, the player character, she's, like you said, she's a badass chick. She smokes and she doesn't want to give it up. That's one of the options. I remember you click on her cigarettes. She says, "There's no way I'm giving up my cigarettes. Need those." And I'm like, need those. She didn't listen to all those Dare ads in the 90s.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, it really is your traditional point and click, though. If you've ever played a point and click game, you know kind of what this game is about. It's just, for me, it's the setting that kind of does it, and the story behind it that kind of drew me into it a little bit more. Because it's a very relatable kind of story to many degrees. I mean, the deeper I got into it, the more, the less like my own real life it started to become, and the more, little bit fantastical. And I don't mean like magic or anything crazy, but just, it turns out that her grandfather had some sort of business going on. Whether he stumbled into it by accident or whether there was some big conspiracy theory that he found out or something. I didn't make it far enough to figure out exactly what was going on. But there was some sort of, action movie-esque plot line sort of thing going on, right? Just some sort of conspiracy or something there, which obviously most people don't have going on in their day-to-day life. So like it got a little bit outside of my own personal experience.
For yourself, Christian.
But but it was still, in many ways, it's still very relatable. And this small town sort of area that they live in and everything's also very relatable. And it's just, for a lot of people, I think this would be a game that they can relate to some level and find some level of enjoyment in, as long as they like detective games, right? Obviously, if that's not your thing, then
point and click games. It's
that too.
You need to be invested. It's not gonna sweep you up in the fast paced action. It's gonna take its time, and you got to be willing to let it take its time. But if you do let it take its time, and you are willing to sit through that and enjoy reading almost a detective novel, it's an interactive detective novel, then you could really enjoy it. I would recommend it. I would play just one more level.
Same for sure. This I would like to beat it at some point. I haven't gone back to it yet since I originally played it. That's just because very busy person.
Right.
But yeah, for sure, I would like to beat it. I would like to play just one more level. I'd like to see what else this developer has done. I don't have the developer listed here off the top of my head or anything, but yeah, I mean, they did pretty good work with this one, I feel like. And I really like that description of a interactive detective novel, because that very well sums up what it is. I mean, you're the one that has to solve the puzzles. You're the one that has to piece together the different clues and things like that. And yeah, so if you're into that sort of thing, for sure, try it out. Again, I don't have like a price or anything off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure this was a relatively cheap game.
Right.
So,
well, it's these kinds of games are actually making a little bit of a comeback. There was one that I recently watched Markiplier play. I think I was telling you about. It took place in a hotel. Can't remember what the name of that game was. Does anybody remember what the name of that game was?
I don't remember what that game was. But interestingly, I just searched for Kathy Rain while you're trying to think of that. I just searched for Kathy Rain, and the first thing that popped up was they are actually making a director's cut of the game.
Oh, fun.
Coming out 2021, planned, so sometime this year. And it looks like they fixed the 16:9 aspect ratio thing that I was talking about. It looks like that's one of the things they fixed. And it looks like they just kind of cleaned up some of the pixel art and whatnot. So that's interesting. But the big thing is there is a free demo to download. So if you think it may be your sort of game, but you're not positive, there you go. Demo available right there for the new version of it.
Yeah. At Dead of Night is what it's called. I had my my behind the scenes producer check one. At Dead of Night, it is it's an FMV game, full motion video. So you probably remember now what I was talking about. But it's the entire thing is first person full motion video, and you navigate your way through this hotel, and there is a crazy person like following you around trying to kill you. So you have to solve it's a little bit more supernatural. It's not strictly detective, but it's a lot of detective type things. You have to find clues throughout the hotel, and then you have to use this machine to talk to spirits, and they will piece the clues together for you, but you have to make inferences about the clues that you have and try to connect one piece to another piece that you found, and so on. So that's what's going on there. But games like that, those games were pretty common in the 90s when everyone was trying to kind of find their footing. So these point and click adventure games and full motion video point and click adventure games surfaced and were pretty popular for a time, and then fell out of popularity hard when the 3D platformer came out.
Well, I think kind of what's happening, and just my personal opinion here, is that all of us that grew up in the 90s now are becoming adults, creating our own game studios, making our own games. So, me and you, we grew up on like Nintendo, so we really like the pixel art 2D platformers, early 3D games, stuff like that. But the PC people, they grew up with your FMV games, with your point and click adventures and stuff like that. So I think that's probably a big reason why those sorts of games are suddenly becoming so popular again, or at least finding a footing in the modern age, at least. It's not like they're blowing up or anything. They're not becoming the world's largest selling games. But this game, for instance, Kathy Rain, I saw apparently had like over 1.2 million downloads or something like that. So did really respectable still. Like that's still really good.
It's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely finding its footing, which is nice.
All right. So I would play just one more level of Kathy Rain. Christian, you said you would play just one more level of Kathy Rain. So is there anything else that we need to cover here? Anything?
Not really.
Anything going on?
I think that's pretty much it for the game itself. Outside of that, just thank you everybody so much for following us, for sticking with us here, and we hope you're excited to hear more about the game that we're going to be working on. John, I guess there's one little tiny teaser that we could give them. We just kind of decided on the title that we're most likely going to be using. Anything could change at any time, of course, but you want to go ahead and give them that as just a little tiny teaser?
The working title so far is Nightmare's Eve.
Yep.
That's what we've come up with.
That's what we got.
It's a game with a theme.
Yes,
I'll give it that. It has a definite strong theme running through it, and if anybody can guess it, you are a smart cookie.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, as we do more on the game, like I said before, we will be sharing more about it here, probably on the website. We're working on a renewed interest or renewed vitality for our Facebook page, and we're going to be rebranding expanding that a little bit to share not only podcast news, but video game news and stuff like that. So hope you guys continue with us on this journey, and hope you're as excited as we are to see and hear more about Nightmares Eat.
And as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching and supporting us. You don't have to, but you do, and we appreciate it. If you want to find me and Christian, either at the podcast or our own personal stuff, all of the information will be down in the links below on your podcast provider of choice or on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.